Hi there! You must be the new Spiritfarer, about to embark on a beautiful adventure full of color and vibrance.
I guess you could say that. Thunder Lotus Games sent me over.
Excellent. You will certainly not be disappointed, my friend. You're going to be replacing Sharon. Guy's been doing this for way too long. But don't worry. Being a Spiritfarer is a wonderful experience. You'll be enjoying yourself on the high seas, and making friends and having wondrous encounters, so much that the next 30 hours, give or take, will pass by in the blink of an eye. And you'll have your trusty kitty Daffodil with you too.
Aw, Daffodil. Wait, what do you mean 30 hours?
Sorry, that was meant for the other side of the fourth wall.
What?
Let's get started, shall we?
Are we gonna...
Shh! We're watching the rest of the scene first.
What? So, what'll I be doing exactly as the Spiritfarer?
You'll be guiding spirits on a journey of acceptance to the end. Taking them to experience this world with its own magical rules, helping them cope, and taking care of them in the meantime. Your kindness and empathy will be your greatest tools. But also, you have an Everlight, which is pretty handy too. Like, it does basically anything you need it to. Like, seriously. So much. Very nifty. You can use it to collect materials by mining, fishing, cutting down trees, growing plants, things like that. You can use it to play music. Or you can just use it to get around. Ziplining, gliding, dashing, you name it. Of course, you may need to make offerings at shrines in order to unlock some of its potential.
Sounds like I'll be doing a lot of different jobs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you'll be taking care of these spirits, you'll need to provide for them as well, which means running around and collecting lots of materials through various tasks and minigames. Some of the minigames are pretty fun, like catching lightning or fighting cardboard cutouts of monster armies. And there's nothing more satisfying than that continuous pop sound when you collect a big whack of the fire glow bugs all at once. Yeah, that's a treat. And yeah, some of the games may be pretty repetitive, like watering your plants. Every single day. So many times a day, it never ends. Or playing music to make the plants grow faster. I mean, come on, Stella, can't you play more than that one song?
Sorry?
Ah, well, no worries. You know how it is. I mean, not every game, adventure, is going to be exciting the whole way through. But besides the occasional repetitive, so extremely repetitive tasks you'll need to complete, there's a whole whack of fun stuff to do at the same time. And heck, you can always just avoid the chores you find boring most of the time. It might make things a little more difficult to pull off in the end, but everything is still very doable. And because being a Spiritfarer is so relaxing, and because you'll come across so many entertaining characters and situations, you'll find that even if you decide to take the slow, scenic route, you probably won't grow tired of it very quickly. I mean, hypothetically speaking, I could probably accompany my partner as she is tasked with being the Spiritfarer for her entire adventure. Then, when she's done, immediately turn around and have my own Spiritfaring adventure days later, only this time as the Spiritfarer rather than the Spiritfarer's adorable floofy kitty cat.
That's oddly specific.
Yes.
Well, cool. Thanks. I really look forward to being a Spiritfarer.
As well you should. Good luck, and have fun. Okay, fun and games aside, Spiritfarer is a fantastic story and a lovely game from the Thunder Lotus Games. And there will be some mild spoilers from this point on, so if you want to avoid those, this is your warning. You play as Stella, the new Spiritfarer who has just taken over for Sharon, the guy who's been doing it for, they never really say, but we can assume a very, very long time. You've also got your kitty, Daffodil, with you. Daffodil acts as a cute little cat who follows you around in one player mode. or who's the character the second player controls in 2-player mode. You go around collecting souls to travel with you to the Everdoor, the place where spirits go to be set free. And it's all in a vibrant world of color and life, which is funny because it seems to be in like the spirit realm, maybe? I'm not sure. It's never super clear on that. I guess I don't think it's real life because they do make a few references to... Anyway, you'll first meet up with Gwen, Stella's best friend. Well, she was in life, and I suppose she still may be again. Like, we're not really... Anyway, but now that she's a spirit, she's traveling on her way to the Everdoor, but you don't just pick her up and boat her over there. No, it's a lot more to it than that, you know. You take her through a series of events and quests which help her come to terms, I suppose, with the end of her life. In the meantime, you'll be doing the same with 11 other spirits: Atul, Summer, Astrid, her husband Giovanni, Alice, Gustav, Stanley, Bruce and Mickey. Bruce and Mickey act as one spirit in terms of gameplay, Alina, and Buck. Now, the conflict in the game comes from, I suppose, within each spirit and the journeys they go through to get to the Everdoor. Some of them have to deal with difficult pasts and memories. Some are reliving the same hardships they experienced in life. Others just need to learn what it means to die. I'm not going to give away each character's specific stories, but I can tell you that your job as the player is to guide them. And after you've released a couple of spirits, you'll find that you have a bit of story of your own, which is told through pictures and dialogue between you and a crazy big owl spirit. Kind of creepy. There are a few hints found through narrative as well, but there's nothing really concrete. The dialogue is cute, often silly, and sometimes downright goofy, yet it's touching. Each character has their own personality and an interesting story. And it really comes through in the writing. And honestly, a lot of backstory for each character is kind of hard to figure out. And sometimes it's downright impossible through the gameplay only. But there's a lot of extra information about the characters available in the digital art book, which costs around $10 or so to buy. Oof, downloadable content. Yay. But anyway, even without said digital art book and extra information, you can fully enjoy the experience with what you're given in the game itself. Sometimes you really need to pay attention to the little bits of dialogue that almost seem like they're throwaway, but you soon come to realize that almost none of the dialogue in the game, at least the stuff between the main characters, is throwaway. The game's story has been meticulously written. Yes, the conflict may seem low stakes at times, and it is. It's not the type of game that you can lose or even get a bad ending. But it stays engaging and heart-wrenching the entire time.
But what about the gameplay itself?
Oh my goodness, you're still here.
Well, we're on a boat. I didn't really have anywhere else to go.
Fair enough. But since we've both broken the fourth wall already, I'm just gonna drop the act. Simplify things.
Sounds like a plan.
So, despite it being a highly narrative-driven game, Spiritfarer still has a lot of actual gaming gameplay to it. Platforming, item collecting, resource management, building design, or rather boat design, I guess. You have to make sure you have enough resources in your inventory to use for tasks such as building houses for each spirit you find, or for building places to grow more resources, like gardens and animal corrals and stuff. A lot of your time is spent collecting things to keep your inventory from running dry. And, if you're a completionist, there's a museum that has quests for collecting every item and recipe in the entire game, with prizes to collect as you go along, too. You just have to deal with the delightful museum curator for that.
What about fighting? Will I have to do that?
Well, there's no combat, but rather most of the minigames are about collecting, catching, or helping things. Interaction is generally pretty limited from character to character. That is to say, there are a few instances where characters actually react to one another, like maybe they don't get along or something, but you might have a character get a mild mood boost or lowering due to an interaction the two had with each other, but you know, you don't see the interactions, nor do they affect the story at all.
What about customization?
You can't change the main character other than the clothes she wears, but you can choose how to place the rooms you build on the boat. And if you're like me, and you enjoy trying to consolidate all of your space, that can be fun. But mostly, because of the strange shapes of so many of the buildings and the size limitations of the boats, even as you get bigger upgrades for it, it can get pretty frustrating most of the time. But that's just me.
Is there something you find particularly effective about the game?
I know I said the lore can get a bit deep and confusing sometimes, but I think the storytelling and character development in this game is very well done. I mean, I felt so many feels while playing through. You know what I'm talking about? Like, okay, how many spirits did you cry over when taking them through the Everdoor during your playthrough?
All of them.
Yeah, exactly. The imagery, the metaphor, all of that, it's powerful, and though often subtle, the characters are just lovely. They really pulled off a game where empathy is your greatest tool. They did it unbelievably well. This game broke my heart so many times, but it didn't leave me broken and sad. It always knew how to pick me back up after. And one other little thing I also appreciated was, okay, so you're in this strange world, right? It's got magic, and a bunch of people are actually animals, but then some of them are cloaked, shadowy figures, and it's weird, right? But they throw a few hints in dialogue here and there that kind of show that maybe the rules of this world are just a little different. And so they hint that it's not really Earth, but like a separate plane of existence. You know, they even refer to the fact that they spend a bunch of time as cloaked figures before really becoming their true animal selves. I mean, it's just a little something extra they tossed in there, possibly as humor, but I liked it. And, you know, maybe getting a little off topic here, but even if they didn't have those little things tossed in there, I don't think it would have been a negative impact on the game. And it was kind of cool that they did point out that it's a separate plane of existence.
But what did have a negative impact in the game for you?
Repetition. Oh my goodness. So because of the type of game this is, I would go hours of just floating along the sea, catching fish, and running around almost, but not quite aimlessly, and it wasn't a big deal. I liked it. It was relaxing, I had fun, but some of the minigames or quests, like the collection quests that have you just going back and forth and waiting for days for resources to grow back, or having to run back and forth and either accept or decline minigames as they pop up before the ship starts moving again, things like that. Like, Thunder Lotus made this amazing game, but they just tried to add just a little too much of everything to it, you know? Like, playing music to make your crops grow faster was like it had this Guitar Hero wannabe minigame with literally only one song that kept repeating the entire time. And honestly, it didn't speed up the process enough to not really be a waste of time. The dragons? Kind of fun, but literally the same platforming level every time you played each dragon, like, didn't change at all. And the ore smelting or the rock smashing minigames, like, oh my gosh, if you can even call them that. The rock smasher was literally just mashing a button over and over until it was finished. I think that if they had just changed some of these ever so slightly, or, you know, toned them down a tiny bit, like how often you gotta water plants, for example, then it could have helped a lot.
Wow. Thanks. But, you know, I was just looking for one element, and you didn't need to get into...
But you know what was the worst of all? The crashes and glitches. Like, no, this isn't technically part of the gaming experience, but it is, though, you know? When your NPCs or sheep get stuck on a ladder or platform and you have to reset the game to get them out, the constant glitches that happen when playing multiplayer that cause one of the two players to get stuck in a hidden location, or the kitchen to just plain stop working for a while, or when the game crashes and just says, oh, the software has closed due to an error. Thanks, game. That's great. Oh, look, it hasn't autosaved in like 20 minutes. Yay!
Okay. Thanks.
All in all, though, like I said, this is a worthwhile experience. If you haven't yet had a chance to play Spiritfarer, then I highly recommend it. And yeah, I know there were a couple of minor spoilers in this video, but I avoided anything big for you because it's really worth it for you to experience the story for yourself.
Yep. Too bad there isn't more to it.
Funny you should say that, because I have this little proposed expansion to the game. But buckle in, because whoo boy, there are spoilers ahead. Yes, even bigger spoilers. Look, I don't really want to spoil these things, but I guess I gotta. Otherwise, this video just wouldn't be complete, now would it?
Well, I don't know about
So
that.
first of all, I promise I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but here's a pretty big one, so warning for that. Okay, ready? At the end of the game, Stella and Daffodil, like Charon, go through the Everdoor. Why? Well, you'll have to play the game to find out and get the details for that. But in fact, they do. And that's something you'll have to come to terms with, much like the rest of the spirits do when it comes to their own deaths. They come to terms with things. But there is one more spirit that you take on the boat that you don't take through the Everdoor. Now, I won't say who it is, but I will say this. Turns out he's already been through the Everdoor, or maybe, at least, according to him. So, you don't bring him through. And coincidentally, it's the only spirit that wasn't a person Stella personally knew before becoming the next Spiritfarer, though she knew of him. But what if after Stella goes through the Everdoor with Daffodil, that spirit takes over as the next Spiritfarer, and you, the player, take over as that spirit? I mean, it's a character you already have a connection with and know, and he could maybe go around a bit, help out just a few more spirits, like a bonus level, right? And those spirits could perhaps shed some more light on Stella's story and why or how she became the Spiritfarer. It could include some hints or bits of information that we would only normally get from the art book, or using Google, am I right? And end with the spirit in question becoming the next permanent Spiritfarer. Like Charon's true replacement. The character is so lovable, and it would be great to know that he has something to fulfill him and keep him going on the adventures that he loves so much and keeps making friends along the way. He'd maybe even help us, the players, cope with losing Stella. Not only that, but it would make losing Stella feel a little more permanent, since right now you can just boot up the game and it loads to a couple of minutes before she goes through the Everdoor. So you never really feel like she's gone, right? Even though, yeah, I cried when it happened.
And I think, you know what? I need a minute here. I'm gonna go find some tissues.